What have you guys been talking about?
Well, we just talked about the foreign grantor trust, and we talked a bit about the Social Security person. Before that, they were talking about the right to travel document.
About the 2 faxes that I had you put up there today?
Yes. We were starting to talk about that.
Oh, does anybody have any questions on them?
Actually, I had one.
You guys can talk, okay? You can unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, I only had one question in there, and I have to find out where it is. But there was one place you used the word "sell," and I wondered whether it could be actually instead swap.
Well, there's a couple misplaces of wording in there. Basically, you need to read through it and basically make sure you've got it written down there. Just don't copy and paste what I have there. Make sure you understand what is all there. And there's a couple mistakes in the write-up.
Okay. Oh, it's in point number 1 on the second page. Therefore, as the allottee, I may now sell and convey my trust patent allotment. And wondering whether that could be either swap or sell or swap.
Whatever you want to say.
Okay.
It's yours, whatever you want to say.
Want to say the best thing.
Now, instead of going to the chief, district court judge, there is probably one person that is more appropriate in this. And it's a bureau chief.
A bureau chief.
Bureau.
I haven't seen that title.
No, you haven't looked hard enough. Okay, there's a bureau chief for the Bureau of Vital Statistics.
Oh, okay.
You get a copy. You can get a copy from your county recorder's office, right?
Yep.
Land office. We know that this is a trust patent, okay? And the Bureau of Vital Statistics or Health or whatever they call it at your state, to where you go and get the state certificate of copy. Basically, that is the place that we should be sending notification in that we are coming in to claim our trust patent.
Okay.
And then basically that they are the ones that need to notify, because they're working for the Secretary of the Interior. I just happened to think about this, basically just a little more. I just got through going over some of this stuff with a couple other people that came up to see me. And then I got thinking, wait a minute, we have to get this from the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and basically I think that Bureau of Vital Statistics working with the Department of Interior, which would make sense.
Yeah, land is interior.
Does anybody else have a comment on this? Speak up.
Yes, the land is our interior. Great.
Okay. Now, anybody else besides Tom have a mouth that they can open?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. Steve here.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard you talk about the Bureau of Vital Statistics and how we have to go to them to get a trust patent or claim your trust patent.
Well, you get a certificate from them.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, that certificate is for the trust patent.
Right.
Certificate is a live birth.
Huh?
Live birth. Birth certificate, right?
Yeah, certificate of live birth is a trust patent.
Right.
It's your allotment.
Right.
And see, that's what we're trying to claim is our allotment. But it's a trust patent. And the Secretary of the Interior controls all patents.
Well, that definitely makes sense.
Huh?
I say that definitely makes sense. Because now the birth certificate that we've been getting from the county, that is not the real birth certificate. Is that correct?
It is a certificate, okay?
Right, it's a copy of the certificate, right.
Yeah.
But the one that we get
That's
from
all you're getting. You're just getting a certificate, okay? You need to come in and claim your trust patent.
Okay.
That certificate of live birth is nothing but a certificate for your trust patent.
Okay.
A claim check.
Yeah. And we have to go through, and that would be like the Indian agent would be this bureau chief, okay, for the state.
Of vital statistics.
Yes, the head person in that Bureau of Vital Statistics that's in charge of handing out those certificates.
Now, would that be the state of where we were born at that we would go, or would
Yes.
it be the state that we're, okay.
Yeah, you can't get your certificate of live birth from the state you're living in if you're were birthed over in Hawaii and you're sitting here in New York.
But don't they, where you reside at now? I mean, where we live?
No, you have to go to the Bureau of Vital Statistics from the state that you were born in. That's where the land record is at. The patent record is at. At least that's the way I would interpret it. That's the first choice I'd go for. There's up to you guys. What do you guys want to do? Okay?
Yeah. In Ohio, the vital statistics is in the Department of Health.
Yes.
What would one do after they get this trust patent?
What?
What's the what would one do with the trust patent? What's the what would be the next step thereafter?
You're claiming your trust patent, your assets from the trust patent. The trust patent is your property, okay? All the funds that are there. It's not land. It's assets.
It's a banknote. Yeah, it's written on banknote material.
So would we be doing an affidavit or just a notification? I mean, what would we do? We would do an affidavit.
Read that document, okay? About the 1402 going to the Indian reservation agent and then having him go to the Secretary of the Interior. You come in and say, I am of age, I am competent, all of my alienations have been completed, I'm coming in to claim my trust patent. Just like what I had in the fax. Same statement, but you go to the Bureau of Vital Statistics.
Patrick, I got mine last week, and I sent mine to get authenticated. Was that not a good thing to do?
You got what?
I got my live birth certificate, and I sent it to get authenticated.
Yeah, hang on to it. You notify the Bureau of Vital Statistics chief that you got it from, and then basically you say, I'm coming in, taking the write-up that I have there, going to the Secretary of the Interior, and you put it into the Bureau of Vital Statistics or the Bureau of Health Services, whatever they call it, in your state, and then basically he's the chief of that bureau. He's the bureau chief, or she, or whoever. And then direct them now to address this to the Secretary of the Interior to release your trust patent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just like the write-up that I have on that one document that I sent to Tom, the 3 statements coming out of 1402 in 1904 for the Indians. Same scenario. Walk like an Indian.
Those are the allotment documents before this. We'll go through them again.
Patrick, I have another question, but it's not on the live birth certificate. You did state Sunday to, if you don't have Social Security or retirement, that you can apply online to get the direct Treasury card, correct?
You can go online and try and get a Treasury Direct card.
I called today, and the lady stated that you can't do it from a birth certificate, that was a scam.
Well, you go online and file. You don't do it with a birth certificate. Find out what information. There's people out there that got that Treasury Direct card. Go on site there and ask them.
Okay.
This is supposed to be a working site. Basically, the people are supposed to try and talk to one another, but it seems like I'm the only one that does any damn talking. And then the people that do come on there put a bunch of garbage on there that has no bearing on what the hell we're trying to do. We can't control what the shit's going on in the rest of the world. So why worry about that shit? Have a hard enough time trying to take care of ourselves. But yet everybody wants to try and take care of everybody else out there.
So you're proposing that it may be worthy and the correct way to go.
Yet, I would advise going directly to putting your claim in, like what we were trying to do with the judge, but just keep it simple on the one hand and go in to claim your trust patent. Your certificate of live birth that is for your trust patent with whoever the state official is that basically issues those certificates.
Right. They're available both in the county or city that you were born in, and they're available at the capital of each state. Like I'm looking at right now, California Department of Public Health. It has the Office of Vital Records. It's called OVR, Office of Vital Records. Goals: establish a permanent record of each birth, death, fetal death, marriage, and dissolution occurring in the state of California. Automate the collection of transmissions of vital record data originating at the local level.
It's a land patent. Just keep it simple, okay? That's all it is. It's a land patent. But it's a trust patent, and the land is really gold and silver. Your allotment out of the Treasury of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Okay? They did that for a purpose so that basically we could help support the bankruptcy of the corporation out here.
Right.
But it was only supposed to be utilized for a certain period of time, but the greedy assholes basically have kept it going out here.
Right. It was offered as collateral until we reached age, and then we were supposed to get it.
Yes. We were supposed to have the usage of it. It wasn't supposed to be just for the corporations and everybody else out there and the bankers for their benefits, and then to deprive us. Anybody that is in jail or anything like that on a debt, and everybody that's in jail is on a debt unless they have actually caused physical harm or damage. And then in some cases, some of those are still classified as debt. There was never supposed to be a debtor's prison in this country. But yet they turn around and they throw people in jail because they associate themselves with the government banking employee that is the indentured servant, voluntary indentured servant, Social Security person. You have to come in as the executor over him and order the settlements of any of those items. If the court doesn't handle it, then now, since they've put everything over under the Secretary of the Interior, out from underneath the Secretary of the Treasurer, we have to go to the Secretary of the Interior to petition him, just like in the first volume of the Statutes at Large, Congress number 5, Session 2, Chapter 49. And that's where you would go to petition the Secretary of the Interior to make the settlement from your trust patent. Now, there was never supposed to be any debtor prisons in this country. But they have made one hell of a business out of this shit. Because the people didn't know or understand any of this stuff. But I think looking at this now, I would tend to say that we should be going to where the patents are being held. And that's where the certificates of live birth are being held. And they're working for the Secretary of the Interior. The Chief Judge doesn't work for the Secretary of the Interior out here. They have the capability to process things through the court system over to the Treasury or to the Secretary of the Interior, but they won't do it unless you force them to do it. Because in a sense, the Secretary of the Interior is the trustee over these trust patents. So in a court settlement, basically the court, you should direct that basically the prosecutor, any charges have to go and be settled with the Secretary of the Interior. Now the rest of the process is that you cannot be a government employee, okay, and a civilian employee at the same time. Just like you could not be a military person and a civilian at the same time. When you got swapped out of the service, and that's what you were doing, you weren't really getting discharged, you were just being swapped out. Dismissed from being an indentured servant, a voluntary indentured servant, military servant. When you had fulfilled all your obligations, your alienations, and you had to be processed out in 3 days' time. After 3 days' time, and the same thing when we go to the Secretary of State and put these in, that we have to come out of this system. We have to be processed out in 3 days' time. Otherwise, now it becomes forced indentured servitude. And that is a violation of the 13th Amendment. You're supposed to be in a republic, not in a democracy. This fictional dead world is what is operating in a democracy. And democracy is by mob rule.
I've heard demo be called priest before, too. It's called priest rule.
Yeah, demonic rule. Mob rule, okay? Whoever controls the mob controls the situation.
Right.
Mafia type scenario, too. Goes along the same lines. Mob rule.
That's exactly what it is.
Now, we were supposed to be out here in a republic as individuals with our protected rights and powers as an individual. So we stand by the Constitution because that is our document over the government. The government, if we stand by that document, then the government employees have to honor that document. But if you don't stand by it and you try and reject the Constitution in every regard, then you're just a rogue out here that doesn't have any protections whatsoever. You're a nomad. That's the simplicity of it. Our founding fathers did one hell of a job in trying to write that Constitution up. It wasn't an overnight deal. It was a long term, and there was a lot of heated arguments that went into that. The bankers and other elite people tried to prevent a lot of it. But some very good people like Jefferson and Franklin and Washington and Adams kept this, and Smith kept this thing on target. Listen to that 5,000-year history of what all went into writing the Constitution. You might learn something. You have the freedom of choice, but you're going to have to fight for it. It's just not an automatic turn the key and basically you're home free. So I would say try and see if you can get a fax number or something like that for your bureau chief there at the Bureau of Vital Statistics or Health Services, whatever the department name is, where you get your certificate of live birth from the state. Okay? You put the request into them to go to the Secretary of the Interior that you have fulfilled all your obligations and now you're coming in to claim your trust patent associated with that certificate. For the military one, we'll have to find out exactly where that's at. But that would be under the same scenario. Because the Selective Service basically was another trust patent, a military trust patent.
Right, even if you just signed up and you never served, even if you just
That's
signed
right.
up.
You still, a man still put in 7 years of obligation that if called upon, he would be there to support. So he gave something, he gets something in return. It's not going to be as big as the ones who did actually serve because they get a military bounty if they had honorable service. And I think you had to complete 2 years in the process, minimum. But even under special ones, if you got out because of sickness or something like that, you might have a partial bounty. So, that's about all I got to say.
Hmm?
The rest of it's up to you guys. You want to say anything, say something.
Well, we need to go through the documents and make that transfer over the Department of Health or whichever one we have.
Just for the certificate, just for the land patent, or for the trust patent.
Right.
Okay? For the rest of the information that's on there, you don't need to go to them.
You mean
you need to get that into the Secretary of State about the employment.
Right, the driver's license, right.
Thank you, Patrick. This is Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the numbers to the Secretary of State where you put your Iowa in front of it, we're still using the driver's license numbers and the voter registration cards and the VIN numbers. And for the last one, the Social Security and employment account, that would be the Social Security.
Now, you don't use the VIN numbers. You use the certificate of title registration number.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, most all the numbers you're going to have are going to be 9-digit numbers. And then you just put the state, 2-digit state in front of that to get an account number. Because most all accounts are an 11-digit number in the process. That way it separates out which state has jurisdiction over that item.
Okay, well then I'll go through this document again in light of the notes that I've taken tonight. I'm going to listen to this call again and make sure I understand it. If there are questions, we'll bring them up then.
Thank you, Patrick.
I wish you guys had asked the questions right now, okay?
Yeah.
Patrick, I got a question.
Okay.
I'm on the website, the Treasury Direct website. Why does it ask for your bank information? Do you do an entity or do you do an individual account?
Whatever they want, give it to them, okay? If you've got an account, give it to them.
And then we'll move it to the private.
We're there to try and help you, really, people, okay?
And we appreciate it, Patrick. This, I think you just kind of intimidate us sometimes the way you talk. It's just your bark, but I don't think your bite is really that big.
Oh, I've got a hell of a bite. Got dentures and they fall out half the time, so I've got no teeth to bite. So, yeah.
Well, I don't have access yet, but I will be going to the library, and I was able to pull out some of the documents, but the most recent ones I haven't gotten. So I will be pulling that information. So I'm kind of lost. I was keeping up with everything that you had when I had access every day, but I have to, it's limited. But I will be getting access every day to the computer. Probably by next week I'll see about getting my own internet.
Well, or see if there's somebody there that basically a friend or something that basically might be interested in this stuff. Don't hesitate to mention it. Hey, basically, some of these people have the idea in their background, but they're too afraid to ask any questions.
Yeah, you should tell us where you're from, because we probably know somebody that lives near you.
Yeah, I'm in Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah, there's quite a few people down there in Florida that basically have been on this call off and on. On the website. See, that's what I tried to get people to sort of work together go on and put links up on the site there before.
Yeah, go to the Yahoo group and ask if anybody's near you. See if someone responds.
But also just talking to friends that you're there and say, hey, this guy is trying to show us how to get out of the system. You want out of the system? Here. You want to stop paying taxes? Why do you pay taxes? You have no income. See, people don't know what that word income is all about. You have substance for your labor. Substance is not income. Income is a tariff tax on the usage of the Federal Reserve banking system. They've got you paying the taxes for them. They're using our collateral out here, but our collateral is working. You cannot tax labor. That's in the laws in this country. But the bankers put all this shit out about the IRS and everything, and then the people don't know how to use the forms properly anyway.
Go get a cigarette. Please.
Now, you're going to have, when you get this banker's EIN, you're going to have to get some 1099As. So now when you go to the IRS and request the 1099As and Cs or whatever, you shouldn't need any Bs because that's basically a bartering, and you shouldn't be using any interest or anything. You should just be doing acquisitions. But you would put it in under your bankers, your individual banker's EIN number and the name of the bank. Has anybody ever gotten a IT tax identification number?
TIN?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ITIN or whatever it is.
Yeah,
individual.
People usually get them when they build make a trust or something.
No, they get an EIN.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But
Well,
I don't remember what it is.
How come you always see how come you always see SSN/ITIN?
That ITIN, I think that's an individual tax number, isn't it?
No. Basically, it's your Social Security number in the private.
Mm.
Think about it. Individual banker. You're getting an EIN for the bank. But you put down your Social Security number when you got that banker's EIN. And it was an individual's number. So the individual named person is my Social Security person, now operating over here in the private. Same number, different nomenclature.
Mm.
Right, tax individual number.
Like the Tom Jones Company.
Yeah, because basically it's the same number. but now you've moved it into the private. It had to be something simple like that. Because I've never heard of anybody having an ITIN.
Individual taxpayer identification number.
Yeah. Because nobody's been operating in the private as an individual. They've all been operating as a governmental employee in the public under VSSN. Think outside the box, people, for a change. You might start coming up with some of these things like I do. Question what's going on here. You see these things every day. Ask yourself the question.
It says here you can't have both a Social Security number and an ITN. I'll read what it says.
That's right.
Yeah. ITN.
You can't be both. You can't be both in the public and the private at the same time.
If you're not eligible to obtain a Social Security number from the Social Security Administration.
Yeah, so
ITINs
if you're not eligible, you'd be operating in the private.
Right. ITINs are issued regardless of immigration status because both resident and non-resident aliens may have U.S. filing or reporting requirements under the Internal Revenue Code.
As a private.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Hiding it out in the open.
Yeah, so all we do is we move our SSN number over under as an ITIN in the private.
Would that be with the 8832 form, the change entity?
It might be. You can put it in with your tax into the IRS commissioner for tax exemption. Saying that you are terminating the SSN and resurrecting it as an ITIN in its usage. Something to think about.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get you people to do is start thinking. I'm not going to be here forever. Okay, that's about all I've got then.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Okay. You guys have a good night.
We'll get to work on this.
See you later, Pat.
Okay.
Get that back to you on this. Thank you.
Hey, Thomas?
Yeah?